Careful what you say. More or less.
Yes, I have 558 here, so more or less.
More or less. Close enough. Welcome, community members. I'm Steve Cartwright, your vice chair. Jane Conrad couldn't make it tonight, so I'll be in charge of the meeting. We'll start with the old Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Anyone have any conflicts? Conflicts of interest? So we'll now go to the minutes of March 23rd meeting and the special meeting which took place very rapidly on March 16th. Have any comments or corrections on it? No, looks good. No. Okay, anyone want to make a motion for the minute?
I'll make a motion.
Brian?
Second.
Second by Tammy, all in favor? Thank you, Aaron. Okay, and any communications that came in to the town manager?
None that need the board's attention, no.
Okay. No communications. And now we're up to the warrant for current expenditures. Anything to add, Irene? I didn't see anything that I needed to ask about. Did anyone else have any questions on it?
No.
So we don't actually vote on that, right?
No, you just sign it.
Sign it.
Yep, so.
We're ready.
You do have to vote and state the total amount.
Vote on the total amount?
I think you just state.
Yeah,
The state for the minutes.
the signature is the vote essentially.
Signature is the vote.
Yeah,
There's
the state
the
for the
total
record.
amount is this bottom figure here, I mean, 38,436.70.
No,
No,
that's the balance that's in the
Oh,
ambulance checking account. That's
the total right
that's
there.
the amount.
Okay,
Yes.
the total amount for this disbursement is $177,132.02. Sign that, so everyone gets paid. And now we're ready for any public comment. If any of you have anything you'd like to say, now's the time.
Specifically for something that's not on the.
Yeah, I mean,
There's an-
agenda items you can speak to later, but if you have something that's not on the agenda that you want to speak to, now would be the time for that. Hearing none, I guess we can go on to the agenda, which is we have some discussion and action items coming up. And the first one is the possible action regarding the unpermitted junkyard that's down by Ripley Creek. And I don't know if you want to speak to that.
So I believe Jane sent out last week some information around certain enforcement issues that actually fall outside of the code enforcement officer and land with the select board. And then what the board sort of roles, responsibilities, and actions are. Any of those instances can be delegated to a code enforcement officer. And so that was essentially done unintentionally, just by not being aware that we're supposed to follow the board. So Terry has been monitoring the situation for, I would say, a year now. And so what I think makes the most sense is that you all hear an update from Terry, outlines sort of the timeline. My guess is that there will be comment from the public, and so hearing from folks that are in attendance tonight. And then I don't know if you want to decide tonight what actions to take or wait till you have a full board, or what. I don't believe that the select board can issue any fines. That was mentioned at a previous meeting, but a judge would have to issue
There'd have
fines.
to be a court case. for
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
correct.
Which we're sort of hoping to avoid, I think, if possible.
I don't know that I would go that far. I mean, I think that we always start hoping to avoid litigation. That's not
Yeah.
our starting point, but we're not starting anymore. We're a year into this process.
Yeah.
And so now I would say the temperature of the situation may be different than it was a year ago.
Brandon, am I correct that the junkyard owner is not the owner of the property?
That
Right,
is
it's
correct.
not on the deed, because that has legal significance. All that stuff that Jane sent us was about the legal property owner. And you can have that person's name on it, but also it's a little tricky because the junkyard owner doesn't own the land. So there might be some need for Bill Kelly to guide us through some of the things, unless you've talked to him already.
And it's why I think, tonight it's important to hear sort of a recount from Terry
Mhm.
and from members of the public. And then make sure that the actual property owner is invited in
Okay,
for a meeting before deciding what the next step is. Because there's a good chance the property owner feels differently than the person that has been operating the junkyard.
okay.
So Terry, do you want to go ahead?
I have some timeline pictures here. This one probably back in, I believe it was in February. And this one was as of April 1st. Series of pictures there.
Yeah. That's fine.
And this is a series that was taken as of this afternoon. And he has been working fairly diligently in the last few days, getting material out of there. As you can see, there's a lot of debris gone. I talked to him last week about, he had about 30 to 40 tires out on the side of the garage. And some of them were still good, almost brand new. I said, the sun isn't doing them any good. But those, the tires that are in that trailer in that last picture, they were going to be stored in a facility somewhere other than where they were. And when he came back with that trailer tonight, he was going to load either tonight or tomorrow morning. A lot of the stuff that remains in front of the garage, right, in front of that canvas building right now, to go to the dump. So he has made significant progress in the last few days. And we stay on him. I think we can avoid any litigation that we might be thinking about.
I mean, it definitely, in these pictures, it looks a lot cleaner than the earlier photos.
It has cleaned up a lot since last February.
Would you say there's still a fair amount to do?
Well, some of that stuff you see there is not junk. It's actually pressure washers and things of that nature that are are usable, and some of it is almost brand new. In the pictures I took on the first, there was some large cardboard boxes on the right-hand side of that canvas building. And those were actually, I asked him about them, and those were actually tool chests that he has put in the canvas building to put some of his stuff in. So he's working on cleaning it up.
Any questions for Terry?
Sounds like you're pretty confident that you can get it to the stage where there won't be an unpermitted junkyard there.
I think we're headed in that direction pretty good.
I do have one question. Has he cleaned it up previously and then he's let it go again? That,
That was, there was some pictures I guess it was last fall, that it was cleaner than the picture that I showed you that was in February.
okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It did
So,
get to a point.
Do you have any concerns that if we sort of let him off lightly, and I don't know what that entails, that it's gonna come roaring back?
I have talked to him at fairly great lengths, and he has said he was looking at land in Cushion. I said that would be an excellent place for him.
Didn't he say that a long time ago, though, that he was looking at land and was gonna move everything?
Yes, yes.
I think he has, but finding the right piece of land, and I don't know what he wants to
The
pay.
Cushing land is new. Originally, he had another spot in town that he wanted to move it to. Thought that would work out. It did not. Had some land further away that he thought might work. That didn't work out. And so Cushing is new, but it is, yes, we have been told that before.
Mhm.
All right.
Does, and shoreland zoning doesn't come into play with this at all? With the vehicles parked like
Well,
this
he-
far from the water and
He
all that?
did get that vehicle moved. That vehicle is gone.
There's stuff there now, though. You go by and look in there and there's stuff parked on this.
He
Well,
brought another vehicle back.
what's
He took a
that?
vehicle and brought one back. I live next door.
He did, I don't believe he brought one back.
Yes, he did.
he did.
Yes, he did.
But there's no vehicle on Brookwood Creek side now, other than the vehicle that he uses.
Well, on either side.
Either side is in the shoreline zone. The tent is in the shoreline zone.
But
Let's let Terry finish his report and field any questions from the board, and then we'll make sure that the public has plenty of space for.
Has the public seen these pictures?
I don't need to live there.
I was gonna say, I would not be a happy camper.
I've really seen it.
That's ridiculous.
Ripley Creek Road is technically in the shoreline zone, and you
Right.
can't put a road in the shoreline zone now, so. That's a situation that.
Well, I understand
deal
that,
with.
but do we
So,
need to?
so what you're saying is that because it is in the 75-foot buffer zone,
Right,
they shouldn't even be parking their cars there that they use daily.
but these are like junky looking cars that are probably leaking God knows what.
How many unregistered cars are there?
There was 3, and that is down to 1.
What is the rule on unregistered vehicles in St. George?
State is
3 or more, and it's a junkie.
Yes.
Or automobile, so.
3, so if he has 3, it's too many.
Right, and that's a state statute, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Terry?
Not yet. I mean, after I hear from the public, I might
Yeah.
have
Great.
some other
Thank you,
questions.
Anyone want to speak to this? Go ahead. Maybe say your name.
Lorraine Walker, and we live next door. We've been doing this for over a year with him. He constantly drags stuff in, then he drags it out, and in 2 days, it's full again. I've called the state. They've told me to complain on the town, to the MMA. for not taking action because the town is responsible to follow the state rules. If we don't have any local zoning, we have no local zoning. So therefore, the state says you cannot have a junkyard. It doesn't say just cars, it's junk in the shoreland zone. That tent is in the shoreland zone or whatever that is over there. He is not cleaning up. My husband went down there and offered to buy the junk if he would take it away. He said no, he did not want to give up his business. It's his life. For a year and a half, he has told us that he's buying a piece of land. He's not buying a piece of land. And it's ridiculous that it's taken this long to get to this point, and we are tired of it. So after I called MMA, they said that I should call Land Use Bureau and someone will come down. And don't you worry, they'll be doing that tomorrow, because I've had it. Nothing's any better over there. You can take all the pictures you want, but I live next door and I know what goes on over there every single day. And it is not being cleaned up. He has destroyed the neighbor's property across the street. There's nothing left of that strip of land. It's nothing but, it's just destroyed. It's mud. There's nothing there anymore. Many days we have all we can do. We have to drive in that mud because we can't get through the damn road. And as far as saying the road is in the shoreline zone, I believe that road is probably grandfathered long before zoning to be in that place. So what are you gonna do? Are we gonna talk about this another year before anyone does anything? And we take more pictures and come to more meetings and no one does anything? I asked Jane to look at it and she said, well, it wasn't up to the selectmen to even look at it. Well, look out the window, you'll be able to see it. We're angry over it, and we've been very patient. We have all been very patient, so now we expect somebody to do something, or we're gonna do something. And that's all I have to say, but I'm tired of listening to excuses. I live this. He's not cleaning it up. He has no intentions of cleaning it up. Denise just said to me, he just brought in another load of tires.
I'd like to just add a couple of clarifications on that. One, Jane's comment about the select board not going to look at it was not misguided. It was incorrect. She was not aware that junkyards do fall under the select board's purview. When it comes to an enforcement issue, though, you can't have the select board go inspect a property and weigh in. It does have to remain solely with the code enforcement officer. So that's what she was referring to as the legal piece there. She later then learned that select boards do cover junkyards. And so, it would be appropriate for
We have
you
some
all to.
authority.
Yes.
Why don't you, here, look.
The other-
In 2 weeks again.
The other piece that I did want to clarify is that the state's definition of the junkyard is limited to an outdoor open space. So things under a canvas tent or shelter or garage or whatever you would call it would not be classified as a junkyard by the
It's not
state's.
allowed in the shoreline zone.
You are allowed to have covered covered sheds, covered buildings.
He doesn't even own the property.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not arguing that. I'm just talking about the state's definition is that anything that is contained to a shed or storage container is not classified as a junkyard. Everything stored around it, that would. It has to be outside and open to be considered a junkyard by the state.
Can I say something? Jerry Cunningham, I live across the street, we own part of that land over there. And we were actually getting ready to write a letter to them today to have them remove stuff on this side of the road. And Lorraine's right, the junk is always going in and out over there. They have that tent thing, it's open at least on one side. I don't see how it's not a junkyard still. It's a yard, there's a bunch of junk in it. So we had planned at least to try to get that side of the street cleared up. Since we were on it, we were trying to be neighborly and stuff, but it's kind of gotten out of control. There's new piles of junk over there. He's cleaned it up in the past, but it always comes back. So we're gonna try to do that to help the situation.
The car that came
And
back today, is that his car or is that a junk? Is that,
Well, now he started registering his junks, so
Okay.
that he can't call them a junk
right,
anymore.
right?
But he's just working on them and parks them there and moves them and then parks them somewhere else. And
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 cars over there today, in addition to his big truck and trailer. Um,
Alexa, sorry, working. So the stuff on our side, on the creek side, it just kind of piles up and we've talked to him a couple times, because, you know, there's things that roll down the hill up to the creek, there's bird feeder, I mean, it's just a mess. And like I said, when Lorraine called this morning, I had written a letter that just said, you know, we all want to be neighborly. I mean, they've been sitting over there and, you know, watching the creek, and it was really nice. I don't think Joyce is there as much now, and Mike's just kind of, you know, doing his thing. But the trailers, like even plowing, I don't know how the plows get through. I mean, you try to go through and I watch him and I can barely see him getting up and down the road. So the cars, they come and go, and there was one, it was there for 6 months. And I think that one,
But one that got moved, it was there so long I couldn't remember what year it showed up.
He's just thumbing his nose at you guys.
yeah, he is.
He is. Robert Morris, he's a nice enough guy, and I understand Jimmy trying to be the nice guy. I understand it, but enough's enough. I mean, he's just thumbing his nose at all of us. Seriously,
Just like he did when he.
it's ridiculous. He's destroyed these people's piece of land. It's only 20 feet wide, but he's totally destroyed it. So it can be fixed, but
So he's got stuff on your property?
yeah,
yeah, he's got stuff on his property right now.
And he parks on their property.
yeah. Well, and they were lighting fires over there, and then one day I was coming from work and I thought the house was on fire, but it was just them burning wet leaves. They don't know. They're burning a big thing of wet leaves, and he was over there talking to him, and the guy that works with him, Nate, was trying to pick a fight with him, and I was like, oh, this is awful. And then I just said, you know, this is our land. And he was just like, oh. And then he just kind of backed off. And then the next day, it's like, I think they tried. Then they ran out there and took that down and pulled it away. And then he actually apologized. I think he was stronger. He apologized.
He cleaned it up, but they got, there's a big pile back over there, and the tires showing up this weekend.
I don't know how you guys can put flat tires all the time.
Oh, we worry about
Like it.
Yeah.
It's like when he had the trailer parked on town land.
Yeah.
You know, he
Yeah.
took advantage of town land with his trailers for a long time too, you know.
Is that town land or is that
No,
yours?
the town land is in the turnaround.
Yeah.
You know,
He was in the other one.
trailers over there.
I've seen them.
Junk
Yeah.
or
I noticed that.
We've towed those away before when they've stayed for an unreasonable amount of time. You know, there are times that folks will leave a boat trailer there or a vehicle, and
Right.
if it's short term, we typically aren't
Yeah.
bothered,
Yeah.
but when something was there for over a week, we did have it towed away.
And he went over to the dump and cut the lock and took it back.
He didn't cut the lock, but he did take it back, yes.
I mean, what do you think we should do? Just keep putting up with it? We've been over a year and nothing's happened. When's it gonna happen?
Well, I'll just say for the state purposes, and I think you've probably done this, to keep a log, you know, because it's important for us to hear and the state to hear things are cleaned up, then it comes back in. I mean, I wasn't aware of that. I thought there was like a steady
Right.
state of things being cleaned up. Okay, so, all right.
No, it's a work in progress,
Mm.
you know.
He was running around.
It's his life, that's what he does.
Mm.
He buys these things.
Yeah,
Mm.
that it's his
If he
life.
blocks the road, sometimes you have to wait for him to move, you can't get in and out.
Mm. Mm.
My thing is, what is the law on Denise Morris? He has everything right up onto the edge of the road, so when you go in and out, it's like going in and out of a tunnel. I've had to actually put my mirrors in on my car, and my car's going, you know, going off, because he's got everything so tight.
The ambulance.
Why
fire
can't
truck.
he have it, like, it's so tight to the side of the road, it's not even 6 feet back, you know, or anything, we're closed right in.
Mhm.
I've had multiple conversations about things needing to be out of the right of way of the road and allowing enough space for emergency vehicles, plow trucks and so on. You know, I think my hope with that was that a resolution to the junkyard would also resolve that issue. And so I too would like to see, a solution. I will say, I think he made progress again last fall, and then this winter was as bad as it ever was. And so it has been very back and forth. Typically, the progress is made when Terry makes regular visits, and then once it's been better for a few weeks, Terry has many other properties in town that he has to, serve. And so, once we're not visiting it weekly, the junk does return.
And as you said yourself, I mean, he tells you what you want to do. You said that yourself. He tells all of us just what we want to hear. And he doesn't do anything that he tells us.
Well, that's why, Alexa, I think we were hoping if I at least, I'm trying to be neighborly, but if I at least give them a certified letter that says, this is our property, and he's a stickler. I need everything off there. They used to mow it so they could sit and look at the water. Now it's just, I'm saying, take it all down and do not do anything to the property. Let nature do its thing and just leave the property as is. And if that happens, then everything will grow up there and hopefully there'll be nowhere to put a car. I don't know if that helps or if it'll just be on his side. You know what I mean?
He's gonna have no place to put his truck and trailer or Joyce's car right now if they don't have your property to use.
Well,
Because that's what he's using to park on and store.
but if I take that away, then you have to come up with a solution.
Yeah, he generally.
They all have, he'll park in Lorraine's.
Truck and trail.
I've already heard about it. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we all have businesses and.
It's a solution. Yeah, that was a good idea that Betsy had.
Do you want to speak? Go ahead.
Well, I have a question. Why does he do it as an outsider? Does he earn his living on it? So is there a real
Yeah.
conflict of interest, or is it negligence, or does he want to upset his neighbors?
No,
It's how he's living.
Yes.
No, he doesn't want to upset his neighbors. He's a nice guy,
It's a
really.
nice.
Yeah.
He's just,
So we
it's his life.
trick his livelihood. so
He's a
to speak.
junkman.
Yeah.
It's
So
not,
it's a
he
real.
doesn't make a living from it,
No,
though, because he's a hoarder. He doesn't get rid of anything, he keeps it. It would be another thing if he was making a living off it, but he's not.
I don't know that is,
That's true.
well, I don't know, because I've seen a lot of appliances come in and then go out.
Where they
And
go? They go to,
My son, if I could speak, I've got some really good information, but I can't seem to get a word in everything.
Well, go for it.
And they're all wound up, but I'm not in a position, I'm gonna stand. Thank you, people, for allowing us to come and speak. Unfortunately for me, my daughter is married to this man's son, okay? He has land in New Sharon, and there's some other property. As far as Cushing, he's talking about my son's chicken building, family business years ago. My son offered him one bay and it's trickled into a 250-foot side. He's half full. My son's trying to get him to take it out. It's filled with mattresses and things that bring in rats. He's trying to store people's cars there. He just gets worse and worse. Like James said, he's a hoarder. That's a sickness. Okay. And he does bring it in and out. These people land, I've even gotten in an argument with him and said, you need to get your stuff off of our people's land. These people have got some really good businesses going here, bringing in a lot of input into our community, some really high-end stuff. These people right here keep a nice thing. We've all been neighbors for a long time. Robert's wife has a business. The little kids came down and go to the maple shop. I believe that the kids is a safety issue. And I know all about this gentleman because his son talks to my daughter and they tell all of it up. And it will just keep going. I mean, I'm worried about their land that if they don't put some kind of fence up some rainy night, he's gonna take and park in there. He's entitled. I've never seen anything like it. I've been around all sorts of people in my life. I've never seen anything like this gentleman right here. And hoarding is a sickness. This is a beautiful property. I blowed all of this leaves off because that's off of our tree. That's my contributor. You know, I was just over the land at the turnaround, back dragging all of the crushed rocks to contribute to this town. I don't ask anything for it. Hell, I'll go over and won't charge anything for their land if they wanna put material in there. But I think it'd be in their best interest to put a nice little cedar fence or something. But he is gonna take opportunity.
every time he's just like Teflon. He's gonna throw some stuff at you that sounds sweet. He is not a town resident. So I don't even know why he's getting this at all. Where did you register that car in our town? And for this to go to litigations and it goes even farther. So if that's an expense on our town, I don't get it. But we all get along. We're all worried about each other. We keep that place all nice, and to come down, you can see it. We used to have a little rowboat in the creek. More artists came and painted it. And that never happens now. But it's an unbelievable mess. And it's gonna keep happening. The guy's gonna go.
I will add, I think. To Steve's comment earlier, yes, the town does not want to spend tax dollars on litigation for something that we were hopeful could be resolved by working with residents. It seems less likely that that is the outcome. Unfortunately, litigation would be the only means of enforcement the town could take. The select board doesn't have the authority to issue fines directly. That would have to come from a court. So to go beyond what has been going on for the last year, which is conversations, saying this needs to be cleaned up, the only actual leverage and enforcement that the town could have would be litigation.
Well, one option before litigation is a written consent agreement. So
Say that
Terry,
again, please.
a written consent agreement is something that Terry as code enforcement officer could write up and give him a certain amount of time to have it completely cleaned up. And that's the first option.
But I think that has to be with the property owner. And also the town can spend money to clean it up and file a lien against the property. But again, that's the property owner. So I would want to have some advice from our lawyer,
A
how we
little
handle
awkward
that.
because it isn't the property. owner,
Right,
it's
that,
the judge.
right. So, I mean, there are things that we can do,
Why
right,
would a
is right.
consent agreement have to be with the landowner?
Because that's the person who has the legal rights to the property, and if they violate the consent agreement, then you can file actions against them, but you file it against the property owner. They have all the property rights.
They won't sign anything. Brandon already tried that. They wouldn't
Did you?
sign, they wouldn't sign anything. You sent something there a year ago and nobody returned it. I think you tried to have them fill out an application for a junkyard
Hmm.
and no one responded. No one came back to you.
Well, they did respond, and essentially they realized that there was no way one was going to be permitted there. And so they didn't continue forward with the permit application because the sort of writing was on the wall. It's not, I mean, I think everybody can agree, it's not an appropriate property for a junkyard to operate. It's in the shoreline zone. It's a very small lot. And so it doesn't make any sense. And that's why they never returned it. So there was communication on it,
But when they didn't return it, I think we should have pushed a little bit then. That they didn't do anything. They wouldn't return the application. No one signed, nothing. And we've been here a year now and it's still nothing.
Does the
Go ahead.
owner know about it?
Yes.
Yes, she
Yes.
does.
And she's not happy about it.
So can we rent, how much does he pay per month?
He lives with her.
He lives with them.
He lives with her.
A lot of things.
but I have
rented for a year. Pay 10% more rent.
I see a novel here.
I have had a conversation with the property owner and she is very committed to it not getting to the point of, any suits being filed or,
Well,
actions taken against her. And so
if the owner lives there, then why couldn't we do a consent agreement?
with her.
Well, with her,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you can,
So
yeah.
let's do that. Let's write something up. I mean, we have to approve it, right? If Terry would have to write it up. Then we'd have to approve it. They'd have to sign it. And if they don't do it, it goes to court. I mean, you can't just keep doing this. It's just a big circle.
I agree with you, Brian, that we need to address this.
And if we did go to court, then they found in our favor, then they'd be liable for our lawyer fees, so.
And they've got to find in your favor.
Right.
I don't see how they.
The problem
I
is,
think we'll all agree too, Joyce was immaculate.
I'm
I
mad.
was proud of that point.
I don't think she wants it now.
No, she don't, but she, it's just weird situation to say the least. I
You know-
mean, I don't think the guy's right in the head. I really don't.
Joyce is that.
You know, and I plowed her up for years, I've known her stinking lawn. And you know, she's always been, we're all a good little community here, you know, but. I just don't get it, he's non-resident, the guy's gotta go, he's just gonna keep doing it and doing it and doing it. You know, I'll get pictures of that chicken house, you wanna see them also, it's just unbelievable.
I
how
think that'd
far
be
he'll
good to
go.
get a picture of that, actually.
The select board's not gonna consider anything that's happening in another town.
It's just going from there to there. That's,
Yeah.
it's not a business, that's our point. He's not buying and selling.
I think you'll find that Joyce does not want it there.
For sure.
Right,
So
you
that's
She
what
told
happened
me the
yesterday.
other day, she said, this is coming out of here, little by little, if I have to do it.
And she was.
And
doing-
she was doing it the other day. She hires a guy that lives here in town. He comes with his truck when Mike is gone to wherever he goes, Mike, I don't know where he goes. But when he's gone and she knows he's gone, she gets this guy down there and she takes a truckload or two of the junk to the dump.
And then he brings
She
it
don't
back.
want it there.
There's no money in
But
junk.
based on what you have told us, it sounds like he's just gonna bring more in. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like,
He's living his
Yeah.
nose in. Gary, his
Laughing at
town,
all of us.
and all of us. And even
Everyone,
her,
even Joyce, right?
huh?
And Joyce
And
too.
Joyce, yeah. He's snowballing her.
Well, I think that's why we need to get something more official.
Yeah, I think the viewpoint of the public, specifically the immediate neighbors, is very clear. I don't know that there's, you know, I think that the board understands how folks feel about it, and so. What is there anything the board is, it sounds like you're suggesting
I would
an
like
action
to,
item.
I would like to see a written consent agreement with.
I suggest we contact our legal counsel and get some advice on the next
because
step.
I think it's gotta be the property owner for legal and the guy. And yes, and
Yeah, let's get.
in the
clarified.
notes on the state statute, it says you need to talk to a lawyer about certain aspects of it. So I would like advice from our counsel.
Right, so if we could get a consent agreement and our
And-
council would.
And I
tell us
can
if
say,
it's-
well, I don't, you know, I hate to go to court and spend our town funds on that. I think we may have to do that. That may be the only way.
And I think a fallback position is if she won't sign the consent agreement, then I think the town spends money cleaning it up and files a lien against the property.
Well, that's the other thing, she may not understand that we could put a lien on the property.
So the town needs to bypass this guy and go straight to the property owner and just ignore him and let her know what's going on, and maybe she will be scared enough that she's gonna lose her home if she doesn't get this mess cleaned up.
Talking about scaring, is there an intermediate step with the sheriff?
Well, I mean, I Joyce is a very reasonable person. I don't think it would not be the intent of the town to scare Joyce at
No.
all. It's to help her understand what the next steps entail, and that could have, you know, a financial impact on her and her property. And maybe that is scary. That's not our intent, though. I just want to make sure she's informed on where the status of the situation currently is.
But when would the sheriff show up when somebody breaks a law like this, parks stuff wrongly? Wouldn't that be a natural step?
It's not a criminal statute. So, yeah. That's a state civil statute. So,
The sheriff doesn't show up to that.
no,
No.
no.
Parking.
Absolutely no. No.
Okay.
And I appreciate this gentleman's comments. I do think I've known people who are hoarders, and it is tricky. It's like it's hard to deal with them. They're not bad people. You don't want to punish them, but
Yeah,
they've got a problem.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Understood.
And Jane and Mike can probably see that he's now piling up out in Basset House.
Yes,
See
I've
that?
noticed it's drifting towards my.
Drifting toward your house now. The whole room out front. And so the side of the house and out the back of the house is.
But you guys won't see it.
Right.
I also appreciate that you consider this a friendly community and that you want to be neighborly and you don't really want to pick on anybody, but you want to stop the problem somehow. So
Nobody wants to hurt.
that's a good.
I feel like we're doing her a favor because she doesn't want that there either. But she doesn't have the wherewithal to ask him to take it away, I guess. But I think if it comes to, she's going to have a lien put against her house, I think she might decide then that she will make him, you know, I don't know.
I don't know.
The one piece I will add, I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page about this, is that there is a reality where, you know, this is taken care of and is now in compliance with state law, but may come up short of your own sort of expectations and hopes for what a lawn looks like in your neighborhood. You know, the town has limitations on what it can sort of demand of people with their private property. We don't have an ordinance that relates to upkeep. And so you may think that the tent is a very ugly shed that is probably only full of junk, but it would be compliant with in-state law. And that is really the limitation of what the town can enforce. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody is clear on that before.
At least it's out of the road.
Mhm.
And they only last about 2 years, the design fail.
And where are they gonna park if they can't park? I mean, with the tent there, that takes up the driveway space. So where is he going to park his 2 junk cars and that green van in her car? If they can't park on the neighbors, you know, with that tent there.
I'm not sure, that's not really up to us to
We just
figure
tell
out.
them, you
Yeah,
can't do it, then you gotta figure out a solution.
right.
You know,
Well, I think that, and we appreciate you all coming in and informing us, and we will consult with legal counsel and see what we can do.
Yeah, I will bring our attorney's advice to the next meeting.
Yeah,
Next one.
we'd all like to see it resolved.
also then we'll send we'll send.
Yeah, I hope that is clear. Like, we also want this resolved. You know, I also don't want to talk about junkyards, like the same one for over a year.
Sorry. We've been looking at it for way over a year.
Living.
No, I don't blame her at all.
Very good.
I think we should move on with our agenda, but I certainly appreciate all of your comments, and we've all heard them, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you for coming, and you're welcome to stay on or leave if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Have a good night.
Steve, you want me to take on the next one? This is
The Colby one? That would be great, yeah. Colby update. Did you meet with the guy? Yeah, great. Small world that his brother used to be an editor. He still writes. What's up, who you ran it? Yeah, so it's Maine. It's connected.
So the next piece on the agenda is an update on Colby College's progress in the former Port Clyde General Store site. I had a meeting with Paul Uranek, who is the sort of spearheading the development of this project, as well as many of others that Colby has taken on. There's an attachment with the agenda that really outlines his full sort of narrative piece. It outlines some of who they're contracting with for architectural design and engineering. They're keeping on Gartley and Dorsey for the engineering, who was working on the original rebuild of the general store, hoping for some continuity there. They intend to keep the fuel pumps active, which is good. It is currently the only sort of public fuel access for in Port Clyde. The coffee shop will continue to operate, as well as the barn and the Dip Net food truck. Part of their build does include a restaurant to replace the former Dip Net. There will not be a general store in it. I think that folks were already aware of that. There may be an area that they're referring to as provisions, but they're not entirely clear on that piece of it yet. And then upstairs we'll have sort of offices and more of a community meeting based space that's really focused on community resiliency. So, you know, how do coastal towns prepare for sea level rise? from both an infrastructure perspective as well as a fiscal perspective. And so the second page really outlines their timeline. And the major piece here is that they have every intention of making a consequential start to the construction this spring or summer, well before their deadline that is this coming fall. And so I would encourage you to read the full update from Paul. It's attached to the agenda online if you don't have one in front of you, and it will just give you a bit more of the specific details. One other piece that I would add is that at the last minute, they decided to apply for congressional directed spending on a project that would involve the town as a collaborative partner. I think I talked about this at our last meeting, is that correct? And so again, that would involve raising Cold Storage Road. I made it very clear that we are in our own process of evaluating what to do with that road. We got some design options back. There will be a public input process. And so, even though we are in the application as a partner and that is a project, what we do will be dictated by the internal process, not an external funding source.
Including a resilience committee.
Yes, exactly. They'll be the ones spearheading that.
The other part of this project was connecting the current dock over to Monhegan.
Yes,
behind the new building.
Yeah, with the idea being that some traffic getting off the ferry would not be filtered out into the road, but instead could walk along the wharf over to the coffee shop, the restaurant, everything sort of down in Port Clyde.
Do you know, I'm curious because when the Bean organization was thinking of rebuilding the store, they had a design that looked essentially like a lot like the old building. And do you know if that's in play or if they were thinking about a whole different design?
I do not know. I've shared the feedback that it would likely be important to residents if they were able to build a building that resembled something like the old general store, and that it may be harshly received if it looks like a building was plucked off a college campus and dropped into Port Clyde Village.
I don't know what they're planning on doing, but I know they've been to the Historical Society and looking at pictures of the old waterfront buildings and they're trying to fit that look, I think.
And I think that they've heard that from, a few different stakeholders in town. So, but I have not seen any sort of designs for what they're planning. I don't think that they have any.
I think that would be important to residents.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly it does sound like it's not a store. It won't be.
No, it's not going to
groceries.
And the hope is that the boat line can continue to sell general store type items inside it and fill that void that was left behind. Carl, you're on the resilience committee, and is there anything that you want to add from that perspective, or just from a Port Clyde resident perspective?
I wish there was more communication between Colby and the resilience committee.
Mm-hmm.
By more meaning, there's none so far.
Yeah, and I will say I think that they decided to apply for CDS a few days before the deadline, which is a little bizarre. Many people that are putting together applications for that spend over a year working on their application because it's a very competitive program. And so, whether or not that's the reason why there was no communication was the urgency. I'm not sure. I do know that he has since been in contact with Susie, and Paul is planning on attending some of the meetings that you all have coming up.
The last meeting they attended by Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which will likely be the case until they have a director for the center hired.
Mm-hmm.
I know that person, they were evaluating their applicants on whether or not they could see the person attending select board meetings, resilience committee meetings, planning board meetings, whatever, knowing that that's important in communities like this. So again, I thought that they would have that person hired.
I thought they did hire someone.
Did they?
I thought it was Paul, but it's not. It was Colby.
I know they were down to 2 final applicants that they brought out, but I don't know if they
Like, they were at 3 before that, so, you know, the process may be going slow at the end. Paul is just the, like real estate developer, so he's just doing the build. What
Right.
they're hiring is
He's
somebody
not gonna stay here and be involved with it.
no, he was about to retire and they asked him
He's
to.
not gonna run the resilience center. He has nothing to.
He's just getting a
He's
building.
their off-campus general contractor, basically.
Mhm.
He's, you know, he runs the islands too.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's good to have your knowledge of it.
I don't know if it's knowledge, but it's what I hear sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not that high on the payroll.
keep your ear to the ground over there.
Brendan, can you explain more what this program is they're applying for?
So this is essentially spending money from Congress. And so it's available every year. It's for large projects and it's highly competitive. And typically what the sort of track record of funding has been is a lot of, you know, 50 to 100-year projects, or, you know, they want to call them lifetime projects. And so it's, if we needed a new town office and fire station or a new fire station and EMS center, those are a lot of really popular, successful applicants. So those types of community infrastructure projects that are going to make a lasting impact. I think that we would be the first to get any resilient road work funded. I haven't seen any track record of that being approved. Maybe the wharf will be competitive enough to get the project through. They do have lobbyists that can help advocate for it. Typically, the wharf alone also would not be a project that you see funded through congressional directed spending. Again, these are normally very large infrastructure projects, water treatment plants, so on.
Serving an entire community.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've had it on my radar and, you know, until we were ready to build a new town hall or fire station or something, which I am not, that, you know, I didn't think that we would have anything of the scale to apply for
Mm.
The project sounds rather small compared to what the program is set up.
it. It would be. And so it's whether or not they're lobbyists and, well, I can make it.
Maybe they have
be
the
a bit
connection.
grander. They do, they certainly do.
Yeah. And they've, you know, done major work in Waterville, the city of Waterville.
Yep.
Yeah.
It sounds like they, according to this timeline, they wouldn't start on the building until 2027 spring.
Yeah, that sounds right, is that they would,
I think they want to start.
It's a ways off.
They want to start working on the wharf.
Yeah, or first.
I think Terry, when he met with us, his plan was the wharf and the foundation done by this fall, is that correct?
There is no permit for a wharf other than repairing some of the structure right next to where the fire was.
Right, yeah, no, I wasn't referring to connecting to Monhegan, but yeah, repairing the current wharf and then putting in the foundation and seawall. I believe that was the plan for this summer, correct?
I think so, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, summer 2026 wharf replacement and preliminary site work.
And, you know, they would need to do a bit more than just the wharf replacement, I think, for it to be considered as a substantial start to construction. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Terry.
Yes, I think they at least need to get foundation.
Yeah.
The other thing that the structure is gonna be about, I think it's 2 feet higher than the wall, so they've got to taper those together.
Mhm.
One goes in.
I was under the impression they're planning on raising the wharf. Eventually.
Maybe, but I don't think that is permitted currently.
No, I think that's part of, one of the things they've been
Well,
doing.
originally, immediately after the fire and when Linda was still alive, they were gonna redo that whole wall.
Okay.
But then things have changed and financially, and they backed off.
And the current permit is just for replacement, right? Not raising for the wharf?
Not raising the wall, no.
But they have current permits to
Yes, the permits that the general store secured.
Those are still
Mhm.
viable then.
Yep, until this fall. Any questions there, comments?
I'll just say, I hope that whoever's hired coordinates with the town and it keeps us all well informed about what's going on over there. Because I think it's in their interest and ours to do that.
I'm optimistic that they will. It seems
Yeah,
like that
I
they've
think
been,
they find it a little nudging, but I'm sure they will.
It sounds like that's gonna be part of their job. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine it wouldn't be part of the job. Where are we here on that? Okay, we've done Colby and then
some service.
cell service in town. Who wants to update that?
and Jane would have it.
I don't know. I can't do it.
I know that she's had meetings with T-Mobile, who is apparently reporting that there are not any dead spots or dead zones in Port Clyde for their service. And then
tell you that's not true.
they own so US Cellular operates under T-Mobile now. And so when we got the survey back from residents, folks with US Cellular did report very few dropped calls in Port Clyde, and that the majority of them came from Verizon users. And so I know that we opened a work ticket on my cell phone so that they could begin sort of tracking where mine and Ryan's, because Ryan's in Port Clyde more often, where the cell service drops out.
It is very spotty in Port Clyde.
It is.
I can tell today I was standing in Port Clyde dropping calls, trying to talk to my wife. So.
Well, we'll get you the Wi-Fi password for the public landing so that you can make calls there.
Yeah.
I've noticed it drifted. You can't call anywhere. It doesn't work.
It would be nice. We have great service on the island.
Interesting.
I don't know where we get it. I don't know where it's coming from, but
Do they have Starlink out there?
we do for internet, yeah. But our cell service,
So you don't connect to that for your cell phone?
we have
Okay.
new cell service on the island.
Mhm.
Benner has no service. Must be getting it from Bremen.
Well, maybe we can get a further update when Jane's back.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And county budget process.
Oh, we have Georg here, and so that is
Yeah, I could update you.
that would be great.
That would be great. Thank you. Yeah.
So since last Tuesday, the budget committee is functioning again. 3 new members have been assigned. And we now meet for the next 5 weeks on Thursday at 5 p.m. and go through the budget. And on May 12th, there's the final public hearing, supposedly then the approval of the budget. The current budget plans foresee an increase of the actual operational budget of the different departments of 11%, and the communications budget an increase by 50%, 50.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And when you look at the contribution that is asked from or ordered from St. George, that would go up by 17%, 17,
Mm.
to 1.77 million. So
Have they fixed the problems with communications?
it seems like, and that's what we asked this at the first meeting. There were people from
Yeah.
other towns or from one other town complaining about this increase.
Is that so the critical thing? Yeah.
Yeah, what happened a few years ago, they were on a higher budget and applied for a higher communications budget, which was denied, and saving on that budget, we were told last week, made the communications department not functional enough to meet the 911 standards. And they're now catching up. They have sufficient staffing, new technology, so that they actually meet the requirements for a 911 service. But it means the budget would have to go up by 50%. And of course, that's a major concern which we want to look into. That is it really the right thing to have it then so locally? We will see. I only know the numbers and the answers that were given. The next two budget drivers or budget increase drivers is jail and sheriff. And we will review those. I cannot give any insight because I don't have it myself. I met with the sheriff and with the head of jail before I was assigned, so to speak, or confirmed, because I wanted to understand what I would be getting into. And they explained to me things that really, since COVID, there's a lot of stress in the population, which leads to higher crimes or local violence. The sheriffs are called more out more, and that drives the cost. At the same time, Maine laws have become very strict regarding writing protocols for the sheriffs when they stop someone and interview them, to avoid racial profiling and things. So what used to be like 30 minutes takes now an hour, this sort of thing. But we will look into detail. That was just in a more private conversation. So I'm trying to understand what's going on.
When would this budget go into effect?
May into effect, I think, is, well, so the final hearing will be May 12th. Go in, and then the voting on it. I think Knox County is on an annual but calendar year budget, so that would be January 1st. Yeah.
Great. That's what I was trying to make.
It was after our town meeting.
The town
Well-
meeting
well
is on the
after.
12th as well,
Well, after, yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Both at 6 p.m.
We're fortunate to have you right here and and you can report to us on how things are going. We appreciate that. Sounds like there's still a lot more to learn.
Yeah, well, my expectation would be, but I don't want to overestimate myself, but try to manage it downward. But of course, that is kind of naive at this
Well, it's a
point.
challenge.
It may be.
Why would you say it's naive?
Pardon?
Why would you say it's naive?
Well, to think as a newcomer and, in the first year, think you can push the budget down. But I will be asking critical questions. I'm trying to break up the budget, like continuing operations. What we've been doing last year shouldn't be more than higher than inflation. So if there's a new Maine law which doubles the time an interview takes, I understand this is something that Maine government has to justify. So I'm trying to break it up to really understand what are the driving forces and get to the root cause.
What was, and maybe you don't want to answer this because you may not feel comfortable speaking for the committee as a whole, but what is the committee's sort of like temperature on this? You know, the idea of a 17% increase.
What I'm sensing is kind of everybody is upset. There's really pushback. There's no people say, "Oh, good, we need to do that."
I can't imagine it.
like
I mean, the article written about us being under 5% was written as a dramatic increase.
What do you
And
call
see a lot of
17?
towns and schools holding to near flat budgets, and so I'm just wondering.
Well, 17% just for St. George, right?
Yeah,
So other towns would be different.
Yeah,
some more, some less. Yeah.
I should also say St. George is a little bit worse off because the property assessment of Maine for St. George is up something like 17%, I think. While for Knox County average, it's like, no, I'm wrong. I think Knox County average is 11% and St. George is like 13.3%. So our share gets bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is good news and bad news.
How's it good news?
Better
Well,
to live in a town where the property goes
Oh,
up.
yeah.
the property's worth more, but shouldn't it be based on usage, like county fees? Town wise? Not just evaluation.
Should it be? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a philosophical question.
Good luck with that, right?
I would say that, you know, our usage matches our population percentage, you know, so
Not our property value percentage. though.
no, not at all, not even close. But it does match our population percentage.
So regarding sentiment, I'm sensing that, but what I would encourage once we are kind of getting through the deliberations on the budget, that maybe the district managers show up at the towns, at the major towns, and justify in case they find this a reasonable increase. Yeah. We budget people shouldn't hide behind our meeting room. We should go out and get the heat. Yeah. And may be ideas where, well, if there's really a main force in the main legislature and we have these elections this year, maybe we can politicize this a little bit and try to get more pragmatic laws that don't cause these cost increases. But I haven't understood them yet. I'm only quoting hearsay.
That you said a 50% increase in the communications budget
50,
for the
yes.
emergency
Yes.
response.
Yeah.
Is that like mostly salaries to retain people or to increase the number of staff to answer the phones or?
They have increased people and they've increased qualification, but we haven't looked into detail. I could only comment
Yeah.
it because it was clearly the.
So it'd be interesting to find out. That's a huge increase. It'd be interesting to find out what's that's about.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are the three main budgets: communications, jail, sheriff.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your report. Keep us posted. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Let's see, county president, and then we have some upcoming events on our agenda here, which are the candidates night in a couple of days at the town hall. Hopefully everyone will be there. And April 9th at the Craignair Seafood and Fisher Folk. And April 30th, water quality presentation at town hall. And elections, May 11th. Absentee ballots available soon, and the town meeting the next day on the 12th, which will be at the school, right?
Correct.
Yes, as it has been in the past,
Mhm.
to vote on the town budget, which we've already seen. And that takes us up to Brandon's report.
As you've likely seen by now, we have three tax acquired properties listed on the market. Just so that you all are aware how that process will work. It will remain listed for 30 days before the town can accept an offer, at which point you all review the offers. So sometime probably in early May, so right around town meeting, busy time, and accept an offer, likely the highest offer. I think it would be very difficult for you all to accept a lower than the highest offer, from a legal perspective.
So they can't sell it for 30 days?
Correct. And part of that is to make sure that the process is open and transparent and trying to yield the highest return for the former property owners.
Right, because under Maine law, they get it, right? They get the money from.
Yes, unless it has
minus whatever our costs were, right?
our back taxes and then our costs to sell it.
Yeah.
And then if there are other state and federal liens, those would be likely paid. Yes.
Proceeds.
Not always. Sometimes state liens essentially are dissolved at the foreclosure point. So us selling it would be a tax foreclosure on the property, at which point it is not uncommon for state liens to disappear. Federal IRS liens, though, are a bit trickier, and I think typically would have to be negotiated by the new owner.
Mhm. So Karen has these listings
Correct.
and they'll be
In the
on
list,
their website or whatever.
in the listing, does it say that it's a tax quiet property? So like somebody looking at it, they know they have to wait 30 days?
Yes. And Karen is very diligent, and so I'm sure
She's
that
great.
they have all received all of the pertinent information that could be available to them.
So 3 properties so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
At this point, we have offers on all 3, and
Wow.
so should be able to see them. You all will likely have to be making some decisions.
Did have an email regarding one of the properties. The gentleman was under the impression that it was gonna be just a bid, and he had the money for the back taxes, and I explained that it had to be a retail sale and who to get in touch with.
Mhm. And they're all listed at, fair market value, not, the back tax amount.
Yeah,
There will be another piece of property going up for sale sometime this summer. It's just land, no building. Maybe landlocked, so
Is that?
it's not the one on Long Cove, it's the other one.
Oh, yeah, that one's landlocked.
Yes, so that one may be trickier to sell. I'm not really sure how access to landlocked property works.
There was one of the landlocked properties we did have somebody interested in.
Okay.
sometimes in a butter vote would like to acquire.
Yeah, that's what.
That's what makes the most sense.
And then we have likely resolved yet another one, as recently as today. He's coming in to pay the back taxes.
Right.
He hasn't yet, but, so we started when I came on with, 14, tax acquired properties. And so once this last one goes on the market this summer, we will have resolved 9 of them.
Great.
Which I think is really important
Yeah.
because a lot of, some of these properties hadn't had taxes paid on them in over 15 years, and so for one, it reduces the tax burden for everybody else in town and it's equitable. I really love to avoid ever having to sell tax acquired property. That's not what we want to do. But I mean, similar to the junkyard piece, eventually you run out of options and you got to do what's right for people. So, but I do think that resolving 9 of them in 1 year, is a pretty good success for the town.
There's only 5 left.
And some of them we have to wait until they are, well, so, I mean, we get more every year, so.
You can't take a property that suddenly.
We don't
Like,
sell a
immediately
property
put it on.
until it's been tax acquired for 5 years.
Yeah, so there's a wait.
And so the 14 properties there are some that are not yet ready to be put on the market.
Yeah, there's a total of 15 right now.
That sounds like good progress.
Yeah.
Yes, we have made some very good progress.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. There were questions about warrant articles from last year's town meeting regarding Seaside Cemetery and then 3-year leases or 3-year contracts. So any warrant article is annual, which is what I suggested, but we wanted to find out from Bill Kelly, and which means that it needs to be renewed every year, which is why you see a lot of the same sort of boilerplate language at the back of the town report after the budget every year. If something was to be done in perpetuity, it would have to be on the ballot and voted on that way, which is what was done for the fees and uses of cold storage, which is why that is not up there every year.
Shortens the ballot a little bit every time you can do that.
Yes, or the warrant anyway.
Yeah.
The other piece that we heard from Bill Kelly about was the idea around food trucks and any sort of permitting. And you cannot lease town land. The select board cannot lease town land to anyone. That would have to be done by the voters. Although that is interesting now, though, considering that you all can enter into 3-year contracts, but either way. But what you can do is issue a revocable license. And so something that has parameters set around it. So for a season, a person can operate for these sort of limited uses in this limited space, and it has an end date. And so that the select board is able to do that.
Do we have anybody interested for this summer for Port Clyde?
For a food truck,
Yeah.
we have not really been promoting it at all. I know that I've heard that the QP truck is going back to the Grange. And I have not, I wanted to hear back from Bill Kelly before we promoted anything. So it is certainly something we could do. We have a spot that works out well for it at Port Clyde Landing if there was somebody interested. Otherwise, we're just doing a lot of spring cleanup, sweeping sidewalks and parking lots and all that, filling and patching potholes, doing a sort of survey of our current stormwater management, given the fact that we're getting lots of rain right now and we can see what systems are working, what are not. So
roads are still posted for a while, right?
a little bit longer, yes. And then
Cross chiefs are gradually going down.
yes, all right. And then lastly, I'm doing some work to try to figure out, we have in the budget for this coming year, a resurfacing line that should have been enough to get us our road plan back on track in 4 years. I'm worried about the oil prices right now and what that will do to the cost of asphalt. Yep. And so I'm trying to do some work to see if we can avoid falling behind yet again. And so
If the costs are too crazy, is it possible to just hold the money till next year, or can you not do that?
you can do that. You could carry it forward. You could spend,
Wait for the price to go down?
yeah, or we could pave the road that needs it most to make some sort of progress, or 3 of the 4 miles that we have laid out so that we're not falling further behind, but we can carry forward there may not be much left to carry forward if we went for that option.
That's what I mean. If you can only do a third of the road for the same price, then maybe it's not worth doing.
I would say if we were current on our road plan, I would agree with you for sure. I get really worried about any roads getting to the point where they would have to be, where resurfacing wouldn't be enough.
Right.
It becomes far more costly at
Yeah.
that point. So anyway, that is my report.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
Did you have any luck ordering signs for public parking at the?
We have not yet. It's on our list of things to do before the summer.
Yeah, didn't mean to nag. I was just
No,
curious.
not a nag at all. It's just, I figured it wasn't really needed until summer, but if we want it, before.
We want to get it ordered.
Mhm.
Probably doesn't take them too long.
We have a sign order coming up this spring, certain ones that need to be replaced after the plowing season, and
So just throw it in with that.
exactly,
Yeah.
yep.
Cool. Okay, great. All right, I guess that's the end of the report. Let's go to committee reports. Planning board. Andy?
The planning board met in the end of March, and it was the comprehensive plan review. They went through the I can't think of the word, the table that had all their requirements. And they went one by one, and for a lot of the requirements, the planning board felt like they were either already doing it or they thought it was probably not their responsibility. So things like policies on housing issues, the planning board felt like it was probably not their responsibility. Public facilities, changes from due to climate issues, the planning board felt like they were reactive, not proactive on that. So housing, promoting affordability was another one that was on their list. And the planning board thought that they're not responsible for that. They're consulting. They would help the select board make new policy, but they didn't think they should be responsible. So they went down through, I won't go through all of them, and Aaron has very good notes on every aspect of it. So they are trying, but they felt like a lot of the things put on their shoulders were not their responsibility.
Historically, the planning board has been responsible, maybe not responsible, but they have been the ones to update land use ordinances,
Mhm.
subdivision
Mhm.
ordinances. Are they not actually responsible for that? They've just done it in the past?
Well, I think in the ordinances, it does say they're responsible for it, but these are things that are not directly ordinances about setbacks or water quality or shoreland zoning, that these were things like affordable housing. Well, what should the planning board put into place about affordable housing? There may be something that they have to change in their regulations that is tangentially related, but it's not directly related. So, like
So
they're not,
meaning if it's identified as a barrier to new construction, meaning it adds an expense to a new build, would that not be directly related?
I don't know. My personal view is not. If it was something that the state directed, because there's ADUs and the state has told towns that they need to change their ordinances, but I guess, I mean, for what they said, they didn't think that they were responsible for doing that.
It puts us at a bit of an impasse though, right? Because if there are pieces in our ordinances that do increase the barriers to build, right? You need 5 acres for a multifamily unit, for example.
Mm.
And so that makes it hard to do, especially if you were trying to do it anywhere near a village, right? And that's dictated by the town, not the state.
Mm.
And so if it's up to the planning board to update the ordinance, but it's not their responsibility to address some of the barriers to the cost of housing in town, it does put us at a bit of an impasse, right?
It could. I mean, I have personal feelings about that, not formal select board ideas, but yeah, I think if the state is directing us to do certain things, they do change their ordinances, which benefits affordable housing, but I don't know. I mean, I guess you could tell us and we could direct them, but I think they feel
You
like,
all could tell me, and I don't tell you guys anything.
all right, somebody tells somebody. So,
This just comes from me trying to understand the roles still, because there is, the minimum that's required from the state. And then
Right.
if you were to meet with somebody like Rob Kelly, he would say there's a long list of barriers to new construction that
Right.
are set by the town. And so if those aren't being mandated by the state, how do they get changed if the planning board is who changes our ordinance, but it's not?
see, and I would say, should they be changed? I mean, I've said this many, many times, and that I am personally against changing ordinances that were put in place to protect health and safety and other things, density, roads, infrastructure. And I know that's my personal view, that I feel like we should not be discarding those ordinances, which were hard fought. I mean, people didn't want them to begin with, and we had to explain why they were appropriate for the town to follow this. So I guess I mean, that's my personal view. I know that's not the town's view, the select board's view.
Brian, one thing that they were looking at is, the length of time that it takes to get a DEP permit or something like that, and you come to the town and, a meeting or two, you've got your permit. So the town is actually easier to get permits than from the state. And I think that's one of the things that they were looking at.
Well, there's
Maybe from a timely perspective, but there are additional restrictions that we have in place that are more restrictive than what the state requires.
Right.
And so folks trying to do new builds have cited some of those
Like
pieces.
minimum lot size.
Mhm.
But there's also the fact that a lot of the state laws pertain more to towns and cities where you've got municipal sewer and water and that sort of thing, and we don't have that yet. So we've got to have more land just to get the septic systems in and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
maybe not 5 acres, but you've gotta have more, so.
Right, that was just one example of, one of the barriers that I've heard mentioned. Again, I'm really asking not so much to challenge, but to try to get clarity on whose role it is to suggest these or not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to residents to decide whether or not it's appropriate to change them or whether or not they want to change them. Because an ordinance would have to go to a vote.
Yeah.
And so,
But who would create or propose the ordinance is the question.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the planning board does do. I mean, they're working on changing the ordinances. To conform to the new state laws regarding housing, ADUs.
But not beyond that.
Right. They're not.
So essentially, the planning board at this point is not taking on a stance of looking to make new housing builds more affordable for people.
I mean, people talk about more affordable all the time, but go to Columbia and that's where the issue is, the material costs.
Well, exactly. That's why I think that the towns are receiving a bit more pressure on it because the cost of everything else is so high. So if I also have to buy 2 additional acres to build this, then that's making what should be a pretty modest build something now much more expensive. Anyway, I was asking really just for clarity if they, because if these are identified in the comp plan and, Aaron then identified them as belonging to the planning board.
Not me.
No.
It was Erin herself.
Sorry, the committee identified them belonging to the planning board. I want to make sure that if they say that's not our responsibility, that we know who it goes to, because it was identified in the comp plan as important and to be taken on by the town.
So would it be something that we had to ask them to take on? Like if we had, if we wanted to make it a 3-acre rule instead of 5 acres, or if this committee thought that that was appropriate, would we kick that to them?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, hasn't that changed already? Hasn't that lot size? Hasn't that, I mean, the state has directed that be changed, I thought the state removed for everybody and the towns have to change their ordinances to follow. And I thought we did that already. I thought. Did we
isn't it
do
5
that?
acres for multifamily?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what she's talking about. Are you talking about the subdivision?
No, I'm talking about ADUs and, yeah, I'm not talking about the subdivision, which is a separate issue.
Well,
And it were,
you can put multiple units on an acre lot.
Mhm.
and that's a change. That
That
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
mandated by the state.
yeah, by
correct.
the state. Yeah.
My whole point is there are other changes that could be made. And I'm not even saying should be, just could be, if you're looking at it only from a housing perspective, that would require an ordinance change that isn't being mandated by the state. And so if it's not the planning board's responsibility to look at those, whose is it? Because it was deemed important in the comp plan. And so what we can't do is hear that both housing and conservation are really important, the top 2 issues for people in town, and then only focus on one of them, right? And we should be we've got a whole committee for conservation and open space and all of that. So I just want to make sure that we didn't hear about the 2 most important issues in town from residents and then say that one of them is nobody's responsibility. So can the select board draft a new land use ordinance? Like could it follow the
Well,
select board?
You can request the planning board to do a new policy on something, yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like,
That's what, yeah.
if we want, if it was decided that the town needed it or the select board would like to see it, then couldn't we request that from the planning board?
Mhm. I think that they've said no in the past. So that's where I'm just like, it's like, I don't know how, like,
Said no in the past.
the planning board.
To doing what?
I believe it was the subdivision ordinance, because they just finished the land use.
Well, they were going to take a little break and then they were gonna work on, but they haven't worked on it. Yeah.
That's as good as no.
Michael Jordan said they were gonna work on the subdivision ordinance, yeah,
But
that,
No, recently.
These ADU laws came up and he's been
Yeah.
working on that.
yeah, no, I don't think he
He's a
said,
retired guy, and he's.
I mean, another interpretation from what you said about not feeling that everything was their responsibility to tackle might be that, you know, if we brought up an issue or directed the planning board to look into something, they're not saying they wouldn't ever do that. They're-
No,
yeah,
no,
I mean, I think
no.
if we said this is a town concern, we want you to study, you know, whether lot size should be changed, for example, just picking something out of the air.
Hmm.
I'm not sure they'd say, well, that's not our responsibility.
Hmm.
And we have that expertise on the board.
Well,
I just want to know who's
leaving,
responsible.
so what do I mean, I find that, sometimes we ask of all our committees things beyond our expertise, for want of a better term. And, you know, some towns function differently. They have like a staff person from the town on each of these committees who is sort of directing how things are happening. And we don't act that way. So I understand why the planning board is saying, like, we're reactive. We get an application in, we go through our ordinances, we decide if it meets it, we decide if the application is complete. They're not opining on whether that's a good thing for our housing stock. And they don't do that.
And I think that's totally fine and probably good to keep that separate from
Yeah.
folks that are, you know, essentially judicial in making rulings, right?
Yeah.
And so, again, my question is just whose responsibility is it? Let's make sure that these tasks get assigned to the right people.
Mm, mm,
Well, some towns have planners, right? Full-time planners.
mm.
Yeah, we may be one of them
Part-time.
starting in the fall.
Back to Aaron.
Aaron and I do have a meeting or scheduling a meeting with a consultant who has worked on land use ordinances and other town ordinances around these issues. But we don't want to go through the process if we can't, you know, like I just want to make sure that it's done properly.
Well, you know, in other states, the way ordinances are born is somebody wants something from, like, a select board wants something in a certain area, and they go to their town lawyer, and their town lawyer drafts it. I find Maine's process kind of cumbersome because, you know, we draft it, we do our best, we're not experts in this area, and then it has to go back, it goes to the lawyer then, and the lawyer sometimes says, no, we can't do it that way. And now the committee has spent all this time trying to do their best, but they're not municipal law attorneys. So I just find it backward, that the way it's done.
Well, anyway, I don't mean to slow down. We only made it through one
Interesting
report.
discussion. Worthwhile. Or was there any Board of Appeals action? That's
No.
nothing on that. Harbor Committee, right?
They meet next Thursday. I believe.
Budget Committee, we don't.
They are meeting,
They haven't met.
now they are doing the quarterly review as early as 2 weeks from now,
Okay.
which is I think,
I think Jane sent that out, actually.
yeah, and that's one piece that probably should have been on the agenda is that or your next meeting is the 20th,
Yeah.
which is Patriots Day, which is technically a holiday that we're closed on. And so wondering whether or not you wanted to just keep the meeting or push it to the following week and then keep the rest of the schedule the same. So you would have 2 back-to-back meetings.
I say keep it.
I'm okay with the 20th. Anyone else have a problem with it?
Could be on Patriots Day.
It'll be quiet.
It'll be
But he probably should be off, and he's,
I would normally be off. Aaron would be off. Irene would be off. Mine and Aaron's pay would not be affected. Irene will receive 8. She'll get paid for the 8 hours of the holiday and then receive time and a half for the time that she works for the budget committee.
well,
Do
is
not
that
wanna do
something
it?
that you don't want to do budget wise?
I mean,
No, I mean, we don't budget for people to work on holidays outside of our EMS.
I mean, I could also do the following Monday. Could anyone else do
That's
that?
fine. The following Monday's fine with
I mean,
me.
it's not
Why
gonna,
don't we
it's
just-
not gonna destroy our budget, but just in terms of thinking about
Yeah,
What would the date be? So we
the
can,
27th.
27th,
that's fine with me.
Monday, the 27th.
And then you would, what I would suggest is.
I mean, back to back isn't terrible. Having a meeting another week. It's all right. Get back on schedule after that.
Yeah, which may be helpful with town meeting coming right up to have
Yeah.
it back to back.
Yeah, let's do that. That way there won't be any financial. People want to have a day off, you got your day
Okay.
off. So that needs to be changed on the town calendar.
I will have Bill do
Monday,
that.
the 27th at 6. Great. And now we are up to, did you report on the harbor committee?
Yeah, they're meeting next week.
Okay. And budget committee, we've gone
thought we
through the
just-
cemetery. Tammy.
Cemetery met on April 1st, and some committee members and Dawn the sexton and Bill Torpy met with Leticia Van
Buren.
and Buren.
Yeah, you got it.
She's from the Knox County Emergency Management Agency to discuss cemetery mapping. Leticia was very helpful and will help with the mapping and getting all the information online. The mapping, they decided they will start at the Ridge Cemetery with the veterans' graves. A stone has been purchased for an 1812 war veteran Charles Haskell and will be installed at the Seaside Cemetery. Other than that, as soon as it warms up a little bit, they're gonna start working on the avenues up here at Seaside and installing a new flagpole once they get folks to see how much it might cost to have it replaced and have a light added so it's illuminated at night.
Thank you for the report. I'm sure Mr. Haskell will be grateful.
Oh, he has a stone there, but it's very worn and
Ah.
old and you really can't read it anymore,
Yeah.
so they're gonna have it replaced.
That's an old family. There was also a ship captain. I don't know if it was the same. I'm sure it's the same family, but the Haskells. And now the emergency services we don't have because Jane's not here. Or the TIF committee, conservation commission. Steve, are you? I went out with the commission members on a hike on the scouting property, the one that's by the transfer station. And we walked through its beautiful woods in there, and it would be pretty easy to make a trail. The problem is crossing the wetland, and that would require maybe a couple 100 feet. We measured it of boardwalk, which is doable, but it's a project. And then you could connect to the other side of that property. And, of course, you'd also probably want to create some little parking area for people over by the transfer station, but not in the transfer station, separate, so you could access it. But I think it's got real nice potential for a hiking area. And then we walked all the way over to where that Meadowbrook Preserve is on the Walston Road. And I don't know if it's Walston there or Glenmere, but whatever it is over there. And we'd need a bridge there. That would be a major project to get across there because it's a brook and there's water. I mean, it's only this deep, but it's still water. And so that was useful. Just talking about the Conservation Commission and the hike we took on the scouting property. The beautiful piece of land. I think it's got good potential, at least for creating maybe a loop trail. But to get to Meadowbrook would take a bridge, and that's a big deal that we would take further study and would need a big grant or some fundraising to do that.
Is there a way to connect it to Old Woods or no?
The scouting.
Oh, that would have to cross the water district.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear from the water district. Every so often, the Conservation Commission asks the water district, and I guess they haven't heard yet. But I mean,
Either way, a loop trail could be developed in the meantime that would not limit
Right,
either of those.
exactly. And I think, a trail along the edge of the water district property might be acceptable because it's just people walking and there'd be no motorized vehicles or anything. So hopefully that's got potential. So that's sort of the latest update on that. And they're still, talking about the whole issue of the emerald ash borer and what trees to treat and so forth. And they'll be keeping us posted on progress on that. Shellfish Committee?
The Shellfish Committee meets April 21st. 5:30 in Warren, and the Solid Waste Committee meets April 21st at 3 p.m. here at the town office. Busy.
And back to Brian for Parks and Rec.
Be next Tuesday, I believe.
Okay. Resilience.
Lots is going on with the Resilience Committee. On March 31st, there was a public engagement meeting at the library, and there were facilitators at each table, and people wrote down their ideas. You were there.
Yeah, Jane was there.
And so there's lots of things going on in terms of what's going to happen on the resilience side and the grant side that we share with South Thomaston. And we now have the climate action plan it's getting closer to being done. And it's really great. I don't know, were you there? It's really interesting. And then also on the road side, cold storage and Factory Road, we've had meetings and Zoom meetings. Colby attended about the options for those two roads. And, one for each road, an option is do nothing. And then for each road, there's potential plans to dead end them and create parking and a turnaround, or there's some options that raise the roads. So all of these options involve a lot of money. So, whatever the town.
Including the do nothing option. It's just spent at a different time. and in-
Right.
on different-
Because it wouldn't really be doing nothing.
Right.
Because you'd have to assume that you're still gonna repair.
Yeah.
Right.
You couldn't discontinue.
So, and there's lots of interesting things. I mean, I'm really curtailing what I'm saying about it, but say like on Cold Storage Road, one of the options is raising the southern portion and tapering to the high portion of the road. But then there's an issue about the boat ramp. And people who have boats apparently know this, that the channel is not straight off the boat ramp. It's very rocky, so you can't narrow it down. You need to create room for the channel. So the other thing is, would you modify the channel, which would be terribly expensive and you'd need all kinds of permits to do that? Or just know that in big storms, the boat ramp is going to go underwater. So for each option for both of the roads, there's a set of issues. So anyway.
That's just the old boat ramp, correct? Not the new one?
That's the old one. Yes. So somebody brought that up. They said you could use the other one. Yeah.
Good point.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that was a pretty good meeting, a good turnout.
Yeah.
At the library.
Yeah.
People from South Thomaston. And Open Space is going to meet this Wednesday at 4:00 right here. And they're working on, you can fill in if you want, Aaron, but they're working on the survey, testing it with a few people to see how long it takes and how it goes over with a few individuals. And then we'll report back. Does that sound right, Aaron? On like they're calling the beta test of the survey. And then the survey eventually will go out to the public, and there'll be some public meetings, and whole idea is to see where our community is at on open space. And once they get a good feel for what open space is and what they'd like to see, in the town or not see. But I feel like they're, I don't know if you agree on, but the committee's making solid progress on their goals. So, it's good. And that's it. And then anything else? We could adjourn if that wants to make a motion. Make a motion to Ryan, seconded by Tammy. It's a vote.
Lori, were you not able to see our video ever? Sorry,
Oh.
Yeah, it's gonna be clear.
Seriously, she's muted.